The Twins are terrible, terrible Sunday. They get whooped. Joe Ryan was solid. The offense was anything but. And Emilio Pagan has to go. And I actually expect that he will. It's all coming up on today's episode of Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Minnesota Twins podcast. Today is Sunday, August 21st, and I'm your gracious host, Nash Walker. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Again, this is Nash Walker. Been running at Twins Daily for 4 seasons, been hosting this podcast for 3 seasons, and the Twins are so sleepy. Sunday, the offense was sleepy on Saturday as well against another bad starter in Kohei Arihara, who pitched well. Like, give him some credit, but that's 2 days in a row the Twins have been unable to hit like struggling, poor major league starting pitchers. They have not been able to do it the last 2 days, and the offense has just been so inconsistent. Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa continue to struggle with runners in scoring position. The Twins just lacking in their lineup. And Emilio Pagan has to go. Earlier this year, when he was struggling as much as he was, I went from, I really like his stuff. It's, let's see how this goes in the late innings with him filling for Taylor Rogers, essentially. And he was super shaky out of the gate for the Twins, loaded the bases against the White Sox and withered his way out of it and got lucky, like made some pitches, but got lucky. And then the Cleveland disasters was when I said, okay, put him down to the lower end of the bullpen. He's still striking out a lot of guys. His stuff is still lively. Let's see if they can work on some things with him to get him back to what is the question. He's been bad for years now. To try to take advantage of his stuff. Let's try to take advantage of the fastball at 97, 98 with the great splitter. Let's try to take advantage of those 2 pitches and fix him. And he hasn't been fixed. I mean, what are they waiting for? I don't know what the process is. I mean, I understand that they've liked his stuff all year, but I went from, okay, they need guys to fill in the late innings. He's done it before. Let's see how this goes, to let's move him down the hierarchy and see if he can get back, to he's got to go. He's not going to be on the team next year. If he's on the team next year, I will criticize them heavily. Like, that would make no sense to me for him to be on the team next year and be offered arbitration. He's been terrible, like terrible. He came in when Tyler Mahle got hurt. He pitched pretty well. Even bad relievers, though, will have good outings. Like, bad starters have great outings, like Arihara today or Glenn Otto last night. Bad relievers will have good outings. He hung a splitter today to Nathaniel Lowe. It's unacceptable. I mean, the pitches he throws and the spots he throws them are unacceptable, and there's no payoff. What's the payoff? Would you feel, even if Emilio Pagan put together, he's not going to, even if he put together 15 straight good outings, which I don't think he's going to do. If he's going to do that, he needs to do it somewhere else, because it ain't happening here, and they need to stop hoping and praying and wishing that it will. He's reaching the win probability added level of Alexander Colomé a year ago. That's how bad he's been. He comes into a game that they had already pretty much lost, but he's giving you no confidence. Well, even if you put together 15 great appearances, and let's say the Twins were lucky enough to win the division and go to the playoffs, and part of it is because Pagan has been so good, would you feel comfortable with him coming in to a playoff game and like a 1-run game? I feel like it's an auto home run. He's going to give up a home run. He has the worst home run problem out of any reliever in the last handful of years. He gives up so many homers, and I don't understand why he continues to get opportunities. He's not changing. He has not changed, and I don't believe he's going to change. I think he's going to hang pitches for the rest of his life, because it's not 1 year. We're not talking about a guy who is coming off like an excellent year in San Diego. Since 2020, the COVID season, think how long ago that was, not counting today, he has a 4.79 ERA and a FIP nearly 5 at 4.91. He's bad. He gave up 31 home runs in a little over 130 innings over the last 3 seasons now. He's bad, and he needs to go. There's no benefit to keeping him. He's not going to be on the team next year. I'm not somebody who's like, let's bring up the kids, because I think people are way too optimistic about how a young reliever is going to fare in the majors. But if you need someone for mop-up duty, why not call up Evan Sisk? Why not call up Drew Strotman? Why not call up somebody who actually has a chance with the future, on this team? It's very similar to the Miguel Sano conversation. It's like, what are we waiting for with Miguel Sano? We know he's not going to be on the team next year. He should absolutely not be taking playing time from other people. What's going on there? Sano got hurt, he's on the 60-day. Pagan, there's no benefit anymore to this. There's no benefit. You can continue to hold out hope. He's going to continue to make you look like a fool. He's making the Twins look terrible for believing in him. And he's been really bad. It's frustrating. And I wasn't at this point a couple weeks ago, because I still was like, okay, let's give them an adjustment period. Let's see if they can figure some things out with him, and then we'll check back in. I've checked back in, and nothing has changed. He looks awful, and it should be over. And I actually have a feeling it will be, for some strange reason. I think them stretching him out multiple innings today, and his pitch count was up there, giving up runs. Of course, that's what he does. I have a feeling that we could see a decision made, because they probably are going to, I hope they come to the conclusion thinking, what's the upside here? What's the upside with Emilio Pagan? He's got great stuff, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he has great stuff, because he hangs so many pitches. It's frustrating. I know Twins fans are frustrated. I know a lot of people have said he should go weeks ago, and I was a little bit more patient back then, but now I'm fully on board that train. Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton struggling with runners in scoring position, and those two need to pick it up. If they don't, the Twins will not make the playoffs. So those two extremely important. And then just the sleepy offense continues to struggle against bad starters. Why I think this is happening after this word from BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline is where the game starts. Bet Vikings, bet Twins, bet whatever team you cheer for, or any team at all at betonline.net. They are the best. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. Why are the Twins struggling so much offensively, and especially against bad starting pitchers? I've said this a lot this year, because this is not the first time. They've been shut out a lot this year. This is not the first time they've gone through stretches like this. They did it at the beginning of the year. They've had periods where they've done this for much of the year. I think the problem is, people will love to say they're trying to hit home runs. They're swinging too hard. They're swinging out of their shoes. They're chasing. They're trying to hit home runs, and that's why they're not producing offense. I don't think that's the case with that team this year, because they're not striking out very much. That when they're struggling, they're not going strike out, swinging at everything, striking out. The reason they've been struggling is because their approach is off. As a hitter, very simply, very much not easy. You are not swinging at balls, swinging at strikes, and at the end of the day, you're looking for a fastball to hit in the zone, a fastball, a middle fastball to hit. And how do you get middle fastballs? You sometimes will get them on the first pitch, and that's why a lot of guys do damage on the first pitch, because they get middle fastball with the pitcher trying to get ahead. Or you get it when you get ahead in the count, because the pitcher needs to get back into the count. And in today's game, you don't see a lot of 2-0 fastballs anymore, but you'll see them. Like, you have a much higher probability of getting a fastball in a fastball count than you do in an 0-2 count. So your goal as a hitter is get ahead and then gear up for the fastball, or gear up for anything middle. If they hang a curveball on 2-0, you hit that thing hard. You're putting yourself in a position to hit the ball hard in the zone. And in order to get balls in the zone, you need to lay off pitches. The Twins, when they're struggling, they make too much contact. Their contact is weak. Carlos Correa is a great example today. He gets up 3-0 in the count. That's what you're looking for. You're looking to get on base or get a fastball to hit. He gets, I want to say it was a splitter. Arihara was kind of moving the ball all around today, but I want to say it was a splitter, something at 86 to 88 miles an hour. It was in that range in a very hittable spot in the zone. It wasn't right down the middle, but it was slightly off middle, and he took it for a strike. It's like, okay, he was keyholing a spot. That's fine. Then on 3-1, he gets a splitter again, and it's on his hands, and he swings at it and pops it up on the infield. What's the process? What's your approach? I don't know if he thought that was a fastball. Like, he probably thought that was a middle fastball and ended up being a splitter. That's a bad approach at the plate. You should have swung 3-0, and because you didn't swing 3-0, you got a tough pitch on 3-1. You should have taken that pitch. It might have been ball 4, or it's strike 2. It's not strike 3. That's their problem. I can hit this pitch, so I'm going to swing. No. I want to get a ball I can drive, not a ball I'm going to pop up short, not a ball I'm going to ground to second base. You need to work yourself into counts where you get a fastball you like. Don't always swing at the sliders like right off the plate, or a splitter just below the zone and chop it straight into the ground. Working counts, they're failing to do that. And I think that's why when they're struggling, I mean, you're always going to see home runs are synonymous with success offensively. If you hit more home runs, you're going to be more successful as an offense. But when you see them struggle, they're not hitting any home runs because they're not working to get a ball to drive. That's when they're at their best. When you watch this Twins team, the Garrett Cole start is in a perfect example of when they are at their best. Garrett Cole, they were spitting on pitches. He was getting behind in counts, and then he had to come in with fastballs, and the Twins destroyed him because they crush fastballs. And if they get fastballs in the zone, they're going to hit home runs, and they're going to hit the ball hard, and they're going to go for extra bases. They did that against Garrett Cole. Once you start to chase a little bit, once you start to make too much contact on pitchers' pitches, you'll see strings of games where the team can't score. The White Sox have done that basically all year. They lead the league, I want to say, in singles. I'm confident in saying they lead the league in singles, but their offense has been below average all year because they don't drive the ball. They just swing at everything and look to make contact with everything. If you do that as an offense and you're not like making good contact, you're going to hit into a lot of outs. The Guardians make a lot of contact. They're the most contact-oriented team in the league, but that doesn't mean their approach is just we're going to swing and try to make contact with everything. They still work counts. Like Steven Kwan, like Luis Arise, works his way into counts where he can get pitches in the zone. Luis Arise, when he's ahead in the count, is unbelievable. Even though he can make contact with everything, he can get a hit on any pitch anywhere. But even him getting ahead is extremely beneficial because you're going to get pitches in the zone because pitchers don't want to walk you. So that's been the flaw with the approach. I think they need to be more selective. I think they need to stop swinging so much at pitchers' pitches. I think they need to be more aggressive early in counts if it's a pitch they like. Aggression is not – it's not always good to say just let's go be aggressive because I think some of the guys have been too aggressive and they're swinging at everything. And that shouldn't be the approach. The approach when they're at their best is I'm working to get a fastball to hit or just anything in the zone to hit. They haven't done that. Correa and Buxton have to be better. I mean, Carlos, it's been a really up and down year. Buxton has been up and down because he's been hurt and he hasn't hit with runners in scoring position. He struck out a lot. We haven't seen the big home runs from him or like key home runs, key hits in a long time. We haven't seen it from Correa either. If those two don't produce, they ain't winning anything. Like they're not going anywhere if Correa and Buxton don't come through with some big hits and drive in runs and pull it together offensively. They're not going to the playoffs if those two don't do it over the next couple weeks. So yeah, I mean, this offense is sleepy. The team right now is always one step forward, two steps back. They played a great series against Kansas City. They rolled that into game 1 against the Rangers. They won 4 in a row. Okay, you struggled and you lost in extras. It happens in game 2 of this series. How do you come out the next day? And they came out so flat. It was you can accept last night. Last night will happen. You're going to have games where you're not going to hit or you're going to struggle against a bad starter. It's baseball. It's 162 games. Those games are going to happen. But good teams Good teams, when those games happen, they don't let them happen twice in a row. They don't let them happen 3 times in a row. They don't let them happen 4 times in a row. They find a way to win after a bad performance, and the Twins just stacked another bad performance on top of it. Joe Ryan was good today. They're getting good starts. And I think the score is not emblematic of the actual outcome of this game. Joe Ryan was very good. Pagan was terrible, and that's been the case all year. That's not how this game went. It wasn't a game that they should have lost 7-0. They were in that game the whole way through. The offense lost that game. Joe Ryan gave them every chance to win, and you can't just expect your guys to be perfect. You can't expect Joe Ryan to be perfect, and he's going to get criticized for giving up a homer to Marcus Semien. It wouldn't matter if the Twins scored 5 runs. We all be talking about how good Joe Ryan was in that game and like how they got a great start from Joe Ryan and his fastball velocity was up, which most importantly, they need him. So that's good. Like that's a good development from this game that Joe Ryan looked as good as he did, but we can't really talk about it because the Twins offense was so horrific and Trevor McGill came in and middle the curve. It was an ugly game to a team the Twins should absolutely be beating. And they need to come back and split this series. They have to come back and split this series. I talked about this 10-game stretch where they should go 7-3. If they go 6-4, that's acceptable. 5-5 ain't gonna do it. Like 5-5 is not a good way to take advantage of a 10-game stretch. But I think if the Twins go out there and win on Monday with Sonny Gray going against Kohei Ragans, a lefty, never heard of him. I'll be honest. I watch baseball every single day. I follow this game as close as anybody. I've never heard of Kohei Ragans, which tells you what you need to know about how the Twins should perform Monday with Sonny Gray going. He was exceptional last time out. If they win and they're 6-4 on that 10-game stretch, it's basically how they've been all year. Like they're slightly above average. They've been slightly above average all season long. I think people have trouble understanding sometimes, like myself in that group. And in the offseason, we're all talking about, are the Twins going to be good? Are they going to be good enough to compete? There's teams that win 95 games every year. There's teams that win 100 games. There's teams that win 60 games every year. Because the Twins have been so extreme in the last couple of years, like 2019, they won 101 games. They were excellent. 2020, they won the division. They were very good in the shortened season. Last year, they were downright awful. They finished in last place. Think about finishing in last place in this division with the Royals and Tigers. The Twins did that last year. Like, that's a feat. They've been so extremely good or extremely bad in the regular season. I think that's the expectation for the team. And people want to say this team is good or this team is bad. And it's not that simple. This team is somewhere in the middle. Every year, there's a lot of teams that finish between 80 and 90 wins. And the Twins are going to be between 80 and 90 wins. The difference is, are you an 82-win team? Are you an 88-win team? That's been the question for the Twins all year. It's never been, oh, they're good enough to win 95 games or play at that pace. They're so bad, they're a 70-win team. Neither of those is true. They are somewhere in the middle. And the next couple months and how they play in these stretches where they should be winning, that's the difference between 82 and 88. That's the difference between 80 and 89. They're going to be in that range somewhere. Every win matters in that range for the division, for the wild card. Every single win in there matters. And losing these games will come around to bite you. It will. It'll come around to bite you because they have Houston and they have New York still remaining on the schedule. These games will bite you because you're thinking, oh, we need to get a win tonight against Justin Verlander with Cole Sands starting. You can't put yourself in that spot. That's a really bad place to be. To avoid that, you would take 3 out of 4 from the Rangers, and then you're like, okay, well, we just took 3 out of 4 from the Rangers. This is not a must-win game in Houston. They're making it super tough on themselves. They've made it tough on themselves for months now. They can't get out of their own way. They're extremely inconsistent. They're talented, but they don't do it regularly. And it's, from a fan's perspective, it's hard to evaluate. It's hard to honestly come to a set conclusion on them because, they're still a game and a half out of first place, but they don't play consistently. And one night they have Miranda and Arise just stealing the show, and you're so excited about the group. And it's Buxton hits a huge home run or Correa makes a great play at short. And you're like, wow, this is a really talented team. Maybe they can build some momentum and continue to do this, like play to their talent level. And they just don't. They have too many flat games. The offense is too flat. The pitching staff, they don't line it up. When they pitch well, they don't hit. When they hit well, they don't really pitch. They've been doing this all year. It's nothing new. They've been doing this all year where they have a good stretch. They won 4 in a row, and then they crumble and they can't figure it out and they have trouble turning it around. And that's why they're going to finish between 80 and 89 wins in a bad division, because they have no consistency, and they haven't had consistency all season long. So they need to win Monday. They need to win Monday. This is similar to the first game of the Royals series, where I said if they don't win this game, they're going to be in big time trouble. And if they don't win Monday, it's one game, but that's one of 43 remaining. The percentage of games that you play is starting to get higher and higher. That game, the importance to the rest of the schedule. And if you divide 1 by 42, it's a lot bigger than 1 divided by 160, right? They need to win Monday and try to take any juice at all to Houston, because I could see if they lose Monday, it turning into a brutal week for them. Like, it could turn into, we lose Monday, swept out of Houston. We're 4 games back in the division. We're 3, 4, 5 games out of the wild card. Then you're starting to think that it might be over. Like, then you're starting to think, this ain't happening. And maybe you're right there right now. I'm not, because they're a game and a half back and they have 17 games left against the Guardians and White Sox. So they can continue to lose to these teams. Yeah, it sucks. And this is going to hurt them, I think, in the long run, to not beat these teams. But it's going to come down to those 17. They just need to be within striking distance when they play Cleveland, when they play Chicago. The reason I say it'll hurt them is because you're making it tougher. Your margin for error gets a lot lower. If you play Cleveland and you're tied, that's different, because losing one game to them is not going to make or break your chances at winning the division. But if you're already 3 games back and then you lose 2 more to them, now you're 5 back and you're uphill battle. You're not going to reach them. There's not enough games left. They're making it tough on themselves by losing these games before they get to play Cleveland and Chicago to try to make up that ground head to head. That series, they split 2 and then they postponed. So that's a split, and the Twins have lost 2 out of the first 3 to Texas. Got to come out Monday and get a win. I'll be here after that game for a post game on the Locked On Twins podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.